Okay, we have to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs and Mikko Rantanen conversation here because it's not a nothing burger, but at the same time, it's a conversation right now, and I actually think it makes a lot of sense for a few reasons. I keep seeing this narrative and these conversations around the Toronto Maple Leafs needing more defensemen, needing more depth players, and I agree with you need to build out a deep roster to win a Stanley Cup, 100%. Colorado obviously knows that. They won a Stanley Cup with better depth. They haven't had that better depth since, and they've built out, or at least trying to build out a better roster, and why they traded Rantanen in the first place. So I'm all for that, 100%. But at the same time, what do the Leafs ultimately need based on history here, based on recent history of what hasn't gone right in the playoffs? Scoring. And it's so funny because the Leafs have some of the best scorers in the league, best point producers in the league, but somehow it's this narrative that they need to get better physically, defensively. And I thought they actually matched up defensively and physically well the last couple series that they've been in. I do think that obviously they need better depth, but here's the thing. If you were to go after a Mikko Rantanen, all of a sudden, either him or Nylander slide down to the third line, and you have one of the best third lines in hockey, and you don't even have to treat it like a third line. I go back to the Tampa Bay series where the Leafs actually won. Morgan Rielly and Luke Schenn were slid down to the third pair, playing easier matchups at times, building that confidence as a pair going into the series. They were the best pair coming out of that series, and they just got more confident and confident. If you have, and again, I'm just throwing out an example. If you have William Nylander, Nick Robertson, and Max Domi on a third line playing easy matchup as just a pure offensive line. You never know. You never know going into the playoffs where there could be a major focus. If you acquire Mikko Rantanen and you go on a top line with, say, either John Tavares or Austin Matthews, then the other two guys go on the next line. The other team's focus is completely on those two lines. And then you can slide down one of the stars to the third line. That's called depth. That is called depth scoring, and what the Leafs could do here. So where did this come from? Well, Nick Kypreos on his show and on a couple other shows now, for other people, have talked about this Mikko Rantanen and Toronto Maple Leafs thing, and that Brad Treliving's looking for a big fish. Sure, he's probably looking for a right shot defenseman. We'll see what happens with Chris Tanev's injury. That could play a part here in maybe being more aggressive for that right shot defenseman. And at the same time, they're probably looking for a third line center. That's why there's been so many rumors around the Toronto Maple Leafs looking at Scott Laughton, looking at Braden Shen, looking at Yanni Gourde, looking at so many different guys like that fit that mold. But what if Mikko Rantanen was a possibility? Why give up so many assets? Why give up a first-round pick plus for Scott Laughton or a first-round pick plus for Braden Shen when you could give up a first-round pick plus for Mikko Rantanen, even if you lose him in the offseason, which again, I think the Leafs could be aggressive with the salary cap going up, convincing John Tavares to take an even bigger pay cut if Mikko Rantanen was to come onto this team. Again, I think this is very dream speculation stuff, but Nick Kypreos has talked about it, and other writers have talked about where Rantanen could go, and there's been some conversation about Mikko Rantanen. For me, I'm more looking at like the Vegas Golden Knights of the world, the LA Kings of the world, Dallas Stars of the world. I'm looking more at those teams. I feel like Carolina would send him back to the Western Conference, but Toronto, I mean, I would not be shocked if the Leafs had that conversation. A first-round pick, 2026, a second-round pick this year, Easton Cowan, another prospect. I'm sure that gets Carolina thinking. And then if you trade them a roster-ready player right now, like a Bobby McMahon or a Nick Robertson, in that massive package I just talked about, again, that's giving up a lot if you're Toronto. And also, I don't want to give up Bobby McMahon. He's unreal. But at the same time, you have to consider what Bobby McMahon's going to earn next year. After next year, it's probably going to be in the $5 to $6 million range based on his production right now. Like, if he repeats what he's doing this year to next year, there's going to be a massive, rise in his pay. And you have to think, well, okay, are you going to pay Bobby McMahon and Max Domi a combined $8 to $9 million? Or could you just pay Mikko Rantanen $12 million per year? I mean, there's only a bit of $3 million gap there. And then you talk about the David Kampf and Carly Yarncrow contracts that are on the books right now. That could get flipped in another deal. And then you're opening up more cap space. Do you really want the Toronto Maple Leafs to be paying 5 guys over $11 million? Probably not. But at the same time, if Mikko Rantanen is available and Brad Treliving's looked at this Toronto Maple Leafs team struggling to score, and you put him in that offense going to the playoffs and have 3 lines that can put up major offensive minutes and offensive zone starts at any given time, and then your fourth line is just reliable guys, whether David Kampf's still there or you have your other guys like Steven Lorentz. Maybe that move even slides Bobby McMahon down to the fourth line and you have the most complete offense possible. I'm going crazy with this conversation, but my point is it's been brought up from a few sources. I think Brad Treliving realizes as much as you need to build a defense group and build kind of that disturber mentality for playoff style hockey, Mikko Rantanen is also a Stanley Cup winner. So if there's a scenario where the Toronto Maple Leafs can acquire Mikko Rantanen, I think you go all in. Don't trade a first Easton Cowan plus for a Braden Shen. Trade that for Mikko Rantanen if Carolina is wanting to move the guy, because those Mikko Rantanens of the world don't become available often. So if it's a scenario, the Leafs' time is now. Look into a move like that, because I think it could be the big blockbuster that gets the Leafs over the hump in terms of a long playoff run.